My sister stole my fiancé, the billionaire CEO. 5 years later, I returned with twins and a city-shaking secret. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more gripping stories like this. Your support helps us bring you more emotional tales. The clinic reeked of disinfectant and aged paper. Clara's hands trembled as she clutched the diagnostic report, while the doctor, a man with crooked glasses and a weary voice, delivered the news she never wished to hear. "It's a rare cardiac anomaly," he explained, pointing to the confusing diagram on the paper. "Your daughter, Lily, needs a specialist. The best I know is Dr. Ellis in Bellevue. He works at the public hospital there." Clara felt the floor vanish beneath her. Bellevue, the city she'd sworn never to set foot in again. But the pale face of Lily, asleep in her arms, eyes closed, left her no choice. It was swallow her pride or lose her daughter. Days later, the bus rattled down a dusty road. Clara and her 4-year-old twins, Lily and Leo, squeezed into a seat. Leo played with a broken toy car, while Lily slept, her chest rising and falling too quickly. Clara kept her hoodie pulled low, hiding her face. She didn't want anyone to recognize her. Not yet. The "Welcome to Bellevue" sign appeared outside the window, and she pressed her lips together, fighting back tears. They arrived on a muggy afternoon. The rented house was a tiny cubicle with peeling paint, but it was all their money could afford. Clara had barely unpacked when Lily began to cough. A weak cough that turned into a whimper. "Mommy, it hurts," the girl murmured, clutching her chest. Panic seized Clara. She scooped her daughter up, yelled for Leo to put on his shoes, and ran to the public hospital. The reception was crowded, but the desperation in Clara's eyes made the nurse rush them through. After an eternity, Dr. Ellis appeared. He was a thin man with graying hair, possessing a calm that irritated her. "We'll run tests," he said, "but the treatment she needs is expensive. It's not covered here." Clara felt the air leave her lungs. "How much?" Her voice cracked. "About 50,000, just to start," he replied, without mincing words. She lowered her gaze, defeated. She didn't even have $50 in her account. That night, as the twins slept on mattresses on the floor, Clara cried in silence. She needed a job. The next day, she knocked on the door of the corner bakery. The owner, a plump old man named Mr. Henderson, scratched his beard and agreed. "All right, you can start tomorrow. I don't pay much, but it's honest work." She thanked him, a lump in her throat. Days later, as she cleaned the counter, the television on the wall crackled with local news. "Rose Peterson, our beloved businesswoman, announces engagement to Ethan Hahn, CEO of Hantech Brazil." Clara froze. The cloth slipped from her hand. Ethan. His face on the screen was the same as 5 years ago, only harder, colder. The twins' father. The man she loved and who never knew about her pregnancy. Beside him, Rose smiled, impeccable, as if the world belonged to her. Clara felt her stomach churn. Rose, her half-sister, the same one who destroyed everything. "Mommy, who's that man?" Leo asked, pointing at the screen with breadcrumbs in his mouth. Clara swallowed hard. "No one, my love. Eat your snack." But her head spun. Ethan was here, in the city, rich, powerful, engaged to the woman who had driven her out of her own life. And Lily needed him, or at least his money. That night, Clara lay awake, staring at the cracked ceiling. "I can't tell him everything," she whispered to herself. Not yet, but she needed to get close. She picked up her phone and searched for Hantech. There was a cleaner position available. It was a start. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past return like a punch. For Lily, she murmured, closing her eyes. I'll do anything for her. At the hospital, days later, she held Lily's small hand as the girl slept, connected to wires. You'll be okay, sweetie, Clara said. Mommy will find a way. Leo, sitting on the floor, drew a crooked heart on a piece of paper. I love you too, sis, he said, without looking up. Clara smiled, but tears fell. It was for them that she was here, and whether she wanted to or not, the past was about to knock on her door. Clara wiped the bakery counter with automatic movements, the cloth gliding over the crumbs as the television hummed in the background. Rose appeared on screen again, fully made up, talking about her engagement to Ethan. We're very happy, she said, with that fake smile Clara knew so well. Hatred surged through her chest, but it wasn't just anger. It was pain. An old pain, returning in waves, bringing memories she'd tried to bury. 5 years earlier, Bellevue was different. Clara was 22 and worked in a small craft shop when Ethan arrived in town. He was the new guy at Hantech, a quiet Korean with kind eyes and a way of speaking that made her feel seen. They met by chance on a rainy afternoon when he came in to buy an umbrella. Have you ever used one of these in Korea? She joked, showing a colorful model. He laughed shyly. No, we just use black ones there. That was the beginning. Their dates were discreet. Coffee in the square, a walk by the river. Ethan talked about Seoul, about the family pressure to be perfect. Clara spoke of dreams that never materialized. I want to travel, she confessed one night, sitting on a wooden bench. Where to? He asked, his gaze fixed on her. Anywhere but here, she replied, laughing. He held her hand for the first time, and Clara felt her heart race, but Rose was there, always lurking. Her older half-sister with her straight hair and controlling ways could never stand to see Clara happy. When she found out about the relationship, she lost her mind. One night, Clara came home and found her father waiting in the living room, his face red with rage. You've been seeing this foreigner behind my back? He yelled, holding a stack of photos. They were of her and Ethan, but with another woman. A montage so poorly done it hurt. That's not true, Clara tried to say, but he threw a letter on the table. It says here you confessed everything. What a disgrace, Clara. She had never seen the letter before. Rose appeared at the door, arms crossed, a cold smile on her lips. I warned you not to get involved with the wrong people, she said, low enough for only Clara to hear. After that, everything crumbled quickly. Ethan stopped responding to messages. Clara later learned that Rose had gone after him with more lies, even fabricating a story that she leaked Hantech's secrets. The company sent him to another city, and Clara was left alone, pregnant, with her phone blocked by Rose and her father kicking her out of the house with a suitcase in hand. I tried to find you, she murmured to herself now, in the bakery, her eyes fixed on the floor. But Rose was always faster, intercepting every call, every letter. When Clara found out Ethan had gone abroad, she gave up. The twins were born months later, and depression swallowed her whole. You won't go through this, she promised her newborn children, crying on the floor of their rented room. In the present, the television clicked off, and Mr. Henderson grumbled something about the heat. Clara returned to work, but her mind wouldn't stop. Ethan was so close, and Rose was living the life she stole from her. That night at home, the twins slept on the mattress while Clara rummaged through an old box. She found an old photo, her and Ethan smiling at a street fair. You don't know anything, she whispered, tracing his face with her finger. The anger returned, mixed with a burning longing. Rose could have the engagement, the money, the power, but the twins were hers, and Lily needed him, even if he didn't know it. "I'll find you," she said softly, putting the photo away, "and you'll know the truth." It wasn't just for Lily now. It was for herself, for everything she had lost. Clara spent the next week with a knot in her stomach. The bakery job barely covered bills, and Lily's medication was running out. She needed more. That's when she saw the Handtech ad in the local paper. Night shift cleaner position. It was risky, but it was a chance. She found an old ID from a distant cousin, changed the name, and applied. 2 days later, she was in a blue uniform, pushing a cleaning cart down the company's gleaming hallways. The first night was quiet. The offices were almost empty. Only the hum of the vacuum and the scent of cleaning product filled the air, until the elevator opened. Ethan stepped out, in a dark suit, his phone in hand. Clara lowered her head, pulling her cap down to hide her face. Her heart pounded so hard she thought he might hear it. "Good evening," he said, his voice low, barely glancing at her. "Good evening," she murmured, almost choking. The elevator ascended in silence, and Clara held her breath until he exited on his floor. When the doors closed, she sagged against the wall, her legs trembling. He hadn't recognized her. Not yet. At home, things weren't any easier. Leo appeared in the kitchen as she heated milk, his curious eyes fixed on her. "Mommy, do we have a daddy?" he asked, clutching his broken toy car. Clara paused, the spoon frozen in midair. "Everyone has a daddy, my love," she answered, trying to smile. "But where's ours?" he insisted. She took a deep breath, kneeling to be at his height. "He's far away, but one day I'll tell you everything, okay? When the time is right." Leo nodded, a little confused, and ran off to play. In town, gossip traveled fast. Rose found out Clara was back before the week was over. She was at the salon getting her nails done when a friend dropped the bombshell. "I saw your sister at the bakery, Rose. Didn't know she was back here." Rose dropped the nail polish, her face pale. "She's not my sister," she replied sharply. But inside, panic grew. Clara being there was a threat. She called the bakery manager immediately. "Fire her. I'll pay whatever you want," she said, her voice cold. The man hesitated, but accepted. The next day, Mr. Henderson pulled Clara aside. "Sorry, dear, I can't keep you. Orders from above," Clara gasped. "Who gave the order?" she asked, already knowing the answer. He just shook his head, lacking the courage to speak. "You won't bring me down again," Clara whispered to herself, leaving the bakery with her apron in hand. Rose could take her job, but not her will to fight. That night, she went to her Handtech shift determined. She wouldn't run. Not this time. As she swept the corridor, she heard voices. It was Ethan discussing something with an employee. She stopped, hidden behind a plant, and watched him, his black hair falling across his forehead, his serious way of speaking. It was the same Ethan from 5 years ago, but different, harder, more distant. "I'll handle this tomorrow," he said, dismissing the man. Then he stood there, alone, looking out the window. Clara felt a pang in her chest. She wanted to scream, to tell him everything. But the words wouldn't come. The next day, at home, Lily had another crisis. "Mommy, my chest feels tight," she whimpered, lying on the couch. Clara rushed to get the inhaler, her heart pounding. "Calm down, my love. Breathe with me," she said, holding her little hand. Leo stayed by her side, quiet, eyes wide. "She's going to be okay, right?" he asked, almost crying. "Yes, she will," Clara replied, more to convince herself than him. When Lily finally fell asleep, Clara sat on the floor, exhausted. "I can't do this alone anymore," she whispered, covering her face with her hands. Rose could try to push her out again, but Clara wouldn't give in. Meanwhile, at the Hantek Brazil mansion, Rose adjusted her hair in the bedroom mirror. The red dress accentuated every curve, and she smiled, satisfied. Ethan was in his office, lost in papers, his brow furrowed. She knocked before entering. "Hi, love," Rose said, her voice overly sweet. "Are you very busy?" Ethan looked up, exhausted. "There's always something to resolve. What do you want?" She approached, sitting on the edge of the desk. "I was thinking, we could set the wedding for 2 months from now. What do you think?" He rubbed the back of his neck, hesitating. 2 months? I don't know, Rose. Everything's hectic at the company. Rose felt a chill, but maintained her smile. "But we've been together for so long. Don't you think it's time? I just want to make you happy." Ethan sighed, looking away. "I know. Give me some time to think, okay?" Rose changed strategy, leaning towards him. "You know, I was remembering something today. About Clara. You're over that, right?" Ethan stiffened. "What about her?" She lowered her voice, almost whispering. "I didn't want to tell you before, but she died, Ethan. After she ran off with another guy, she had an accident. I saw the death certificate. It was sad, but she chose that." Ethan was quiet, his face pale. "Died? Are you sure?" "Yes," Rose affirmed, holding his gaze. "I kept the paper for a while, but I threw it away. I didn't want to hurt you with it." He stood up, running a hand through his hair. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "Because I love you," she said, taking his hand. "I wanted to protect you from that pain. But now that we're getting married, I thought you deserved to know." Ethan pulled his hand back, his gaze lost. I need some air." He left the office, leaving Rose alone, her heart pounding. Hiding the truth was a risk, but she needed to keep him in the palm of her hand. Later, at the hospital, Clara waited for Lily to fall asleep before leaving the room. Passing down the corridor, she heard muffled voices in a waiting room. It was Rose, talking to a man in a suit. "I want that certificate ready by tomorrow," Rose said, her voice sharp. "And if she shows up, you know what to do." Clara hid behind the wall, her blood turning to ice. Rose was plotting something, and she needed to find out what. When the footsteps faded, she decided she would investigate, even if she was afraid. That night, the worst happened. Clara arrived home and found Leo's room empty, his toy car thrown on the floor. "Leo!" she screamed, her voice breaking. She ran into the street, despair taking over. It was a warning. Rose had gone too far, and Clara knew the next blow would be even crueler. The night was cold, and Clara shivered as she walked through the dark streets of Bellevue, her heart still racing after Leo's disappearance. He had reappeared hours later, saying a strange man took him for a walk and then dropped him off near home. A warning from Rose, no doubt. Clara held his hand tightly now, Lily sleeping in the stroller beside her. She needed answers, and the only place she could find them was the past. Her father's old office was on a forgotten street, the building crumbling. Clara stopped in front of the locked door, the cold air hitting her face. "Stay here with Lily, Leo," she said, her voice firm despite her fear. "If I take too long, call the lady in the house across the street, okay?" Leo nodded, his eyes wide and scared. "Will you be back soon, Mommy?" "Yes, my love, I promise." She kissed his forehead and forced the lock. The door creaked open, and the smell of mold hit her. Inside, the place was a chaos of old papers and broken furniture. Clara turned on her phone's flashlight. She went straight to her father's desk, the drawers stuck with age. With a strong pull, one of them gave way, revealing a pile of yellowed envelopes. Her heart stopped when she saw her own name written in her father's crooked handwriting. "Clara, my daughter," the first letter began. "I know I cast you out, but it was a mistake. Rose convinced me that you had disgraced the family, but I see now that she deceived me. I tried to find you, but she said you didn't want to see me. Forgive me." The words trembled on the page, and Clara felt her eyes sting. He had looked for her. Rose had stolen that, too. She put the letters in her bag, her chest tight with anger and longing. As she rummaged through another drawer, she heard a sound outside. Footsteps. She turned off the flashlight and hid behind a cabinet, her heart in her mouth. The door creaked, and a masculine voice echoed. "She's not here, Ms. Rose. The place is empty." Clara held her breath, praying Leo and Lily would stay quiet. The footsteps receded, and she waited until silence returned before leaving. She needed to get those letters out of there before Rose destroyed them. The next morning, Clara was exhausted, but determined. She sat in a cheap coffee shop with a middle-aged man, disheveled hair and crooked glasses. It was Peter, a local journalist she had met at the hospital. He thumbed through the letters, his eyes gleaming with curiosity. "This is gold, Clara," Peter said, tapping his fingers on the table. "If we prove Rose forged documents and deceived your family, she's done for. Are you willing to let me publish?" Clara hesitated, stirring her coffee. "I want justice, Peter. But my children, they're already suffering too much. I don't want them to become targets." He leaned forward, his voice low. "I understand. But think, if Rose falls, you and the children will be free. I can protect your name in the article, focus only on her. What do you think?" She took a deep breath. "Okay, but I want to see everything before it goes to print, and I need more proof." Peter smiled, scribbling something in a notebook. "Deal. I'll dig up what I can on her. Do you have a lawyer yet?" "I've already sent the letters to one," Clara replied, her voice firm. "He said he can help." Meanwhile, Rose was at the mansion, nervous. She paced her room, phone in hand. "Did you search the office?" she asked the henchman on the other end of the line. "Yes, Ms. Rose," the man replied. "I didn't find anything, but she might have taken something before." Rose cursed under her breath, tossing the phone onto the bed. "If she has those letters, I'm finished. Find her now." At the coffee shop, Clara finished her coffee, the taste bitter in her mouth. She looked out the window, watching Leo and Lily play in the park across the street. Lily laughed, even weak, and Leo ran after her. For them, she would fight. Rose might have allies and money, but Clara had the truth, and that would be the end of her half-sister. The day dawned gray in Bellevue, and Ethan was restless. He paced his Hantech office, his mind reeling since his conversation with Rose the night before. The story of Clara's death wouldn't leave his head. Something didn't fit. He picked up his phone and opened an old photo folder, hesitating before clicking on an image from 5 years ago. There was Clara, smiling with that shy way he'd never forgotten. He ran his finger over the screen. Could she really have died? Meanwhile, Clara crossed the city with Leo and Lily, the two holding her hands. They were headed to the park near the hospital, a rare moment of calm. Lily, though pale, insisted on playing on the swing. "Push me, Mommy," she pleaded, her voice weak but full of life. "Okay, but just a little, okay?" Clara replied, smiling as she pushed the swing slowly. Leo ran around, kicking an old ball he found on the ground. She watched them, her heart warm, but her mind filled with worries. Her father's letters were with the lawyer, and Peter, the journalist, promised to dig up more dirt on Rose. Still, The fear of another attack never left her. Across the street, Ethan drove aimlessly, needing fresh air. He stopped at a traffic light and looked out the window, distracted. That's when he saw them. A woman pushing a little girl on a swing, a boy running beside them. Something about the children's features made him freeze. The brown eyes, the shape of their faces, looked like him. Ethan gripped the steering wheel harder, his heart pounding. At the mansion, Rose tried to maintain control. She paced her room, her heels tapping on the floor. She picked up her phone and called Ethan, her voice sweet when he answered. "Hi, love. Where are you?" "In the car," he replied curtly. He needed to think. "Think about what?" Rose asked, her tone changing slightly. "About everything," Ethan said, his eyes still fixed on the park. "Are you sure about what you told me about Clara?" Rose hesitated, feeling the ground tremble. "Of course. Why are you asking that now?" "Because I feel like you're hiding something," he said, his voice firm. "And I hate lies, Rose." She laughed nervously. "You're imagining things. Come home. We'll talk." Ethan hung up without another word, his gaze glued to the children. He parked his car and stayed there, just watching. "Who are you?" he murmured to himself, his eyes shifting to Clara. He almost got out of the car, but stopped. He wasn't sure. Not yet. At that moment, Clara felt a chill. She looked around, as if she knew someone was watching her. But she didn't see the car parked on the street. "Let's go home, my loves," she said, taking the twins' hands. "It's getting cold." "Leo kicked the ball far, Mommy," Lily said, laughing. "I'm strong," Leo replied, puffing out his chest. Clara smiled, but the weight in her heart didn't leave. Later, at home, Ethan entered the bedroom silently. Rose was in the living room, watching TV, and rushed to him. "You took so long," she said, trying to hug him. He pulled away, his gaze distant. "I saw something today. Children. They looked like me." Rose froze, her smile dying. "What? Are you crazy? Children look like a lot of people." "Maybe," he said softly, "but I'm going to find out." She grabbed his arm, her tone rising. "You're paranoid, Ethan. Stop this." He pulled his arm back. "If you're lying to me, Rose, I swear you'll regret it." Ethan went up to the room, leaving Rose alone, her heart pounding. He was suspicious. The day started tensely in Bellevue. Clara had barely slept, her eyes red with worry. Lily had woken up with a tight chest, and she spent the morning at the hospital, waiting for the doctors to give news. Leo stayed with the neighbor, but Clara felt the weight of everything falling on her. While Lily rested in the room, an envelope arrived from Hontech, a job interview for a secretary. Clara knew it was risky, but she needed the money. And perhaps it was her chance to confront Ethan. At Hontech, Ethan walked down the corridor, his mind racing. Ever since he saw the children in the park, he couldn't stop thinking. Rose was strange, elusive, and he felt she was hiding something big. When he entered the meeting room, he saw Clara sitting there, her simple uniform contrasting with the elegant surroundings. He stopped at the door, his breath caught in his chest. "Clara," Ethan said, his voice hoarse. She looked up, her heart pounding. "Ethan!" He closed the door behind him, the two of them now alone. "You're alive. Rose said you died." Clara laughed, a bitter sound. "She lied. It's nothing new." Ethan took a step forward, his eyes fixed on her. "I saw the children yesterday, at the park. They're mine, aren't they?" Clara hesitated, her hands trembling on the table. "They are. Lily and Leo. They're 4 years old." He ran a hand through his hair, his face crumbling. 4 years? My God, Clara, why didn't you tell me? I tried, she burst out, standing from the chair. Rose took me away from you. She faked messages, kicked me out of my home, threatened me. I was pregnant, alone, and you had vanished abroad. Ethan was quiet. I didn't know. I swear, Clara, if I had known. You didn't know because she wouldn't let you, Clara cut in. And now Lily is sick, Ethan. She has a heart condition, and I can't afford the treatment alone. He approached, his voice low. Sick? What do you mean? A malformation, she said, wiping a tear. The doctor said she needs surgery, but it's expensive. That's why I came back here, to find Dr. Ellis. Ethan closed his eyes. I lost 5 years of their lives, and you went through all this alone. Before Clara could respond, her phone rang. It was the neighbor, her voice desperate. Clara! Someone took Leo and Lily, a black car. I couldn't stop them. Clara dropped the phone, panic seizing her. No, not again. Ethan picked up the device from the floor, hearing the end of the call. What's happening? Rose, she said, her voice breaking. She's done this before. A warning. She wants to silence me. Ethan clenched the phone in his hand, his face hardened. Where is she? I don't know, Clara replied, already running for the door. But I'm going to find my children. He grabbed her arm. You're not going alone. I'm coming with you. At the mansion, Rose screamed at 2 henchmen in the yard. Leo and Lily were huddled in a corner, hugging, their eyes filled with tears. Stay quiet, Rose ordered. This ends today. Ethan tracked the neighbor's call with a Handtech app, driving like a madman to a secluded warehouse. Clara trembled in the passenger seat, her hands clutching her bag. When they arrived, he parked and got out, anger burning in his eyes. Rose, Ethan yelled, entering the warehouse. She turned, her face pale. Ethan, what are you doing here? Rose asked, trying to smile. He saw the children and ran to them, kneeling. Are you okay? Leo nodded, sniffing. I want Mommy. Clara entered right behind, falling to her knees to embrace her children. I'm here, my loves. I'm here. Ethan stood up, facing Rose. You kidnapped my children. You deceived me for years. It's over, Rose. She recoiled. You don't understand. I did this for us. There's no us, he said, his voice cold. Call the police, Clara. Clara picked up her phone, dialing with trembling hands. Rose looked at her men, panic growing. Get me out of here, she screamed, running towards a back door. One of the men tried to follow her, but Ethan held him back. The other raised his hands, surrendering. Sirens echoed in the distance as Rose vanished into the darkness. Rose's allies were handcuffed minutes later, but she was already out of reach. Ethan picked Lily up, Leo clinging to him. Come, he said to Clara. They're coming with me now. Clara nodded, tears falling as they left, her children safe. But Rose was still free. Ethan's house was silent that morning, the sounds of cars outside muffled by the thick walls. Clara sat on the sofa, her eyes fixed on Lily and Leo, who were playing with colorful blocks on the rug. After the confrontation at the warehouse, Ethan insisted on taking them there, saying it was safer. Clara still trembled just remembering Rose's voice in the dark as she fled. But now, with her children there, she breathed a little easier. Ethan entered the room, his phone in hand, his face serious. I spoke with the doctors, he said, sitting beside her. Dr. Ellis will take care of Lily. The surgery is scheduled for next week. Clara turned to him. Next week? And the money? I'll pay, he replied, his voice firm. She's my daughter, Clara. There's no discussion. She lowered her eyes, fiddling with her hands. I don't know how to thank you, Ethan. All this, it's too much. He took her hand, his touch warm and secure. "You don't have to thank me. I lost a lot of time. Now I'm doing what's right." Clara nodded, tears threatening to escape. "She'll be okay, right?" "Yes," he said, squeezing her hand. "Dr. Ellis is the best. I trust him." Meanwhile, Rose was hiding in a cheap motel by the highway, her hair tied in a messy bun. She tapped on a burner phone, her voice low as she spoke to a contact. "I need to get out of town. That registry office has to burn today." On the other end, a man hesitated. "Ms. Rose, the police are around. It's risky." "I don't care," she screamed, her tone sharp. "If they find those documents, I'm finished. Do it, or I'll take you down with me." She hung up, throwing the phone onto the bed, her heart pounding. She had to erase the traces of what she'd done before Ethan or Clara got there. At the house, the day passed quickly. Ethan took Clara and the children to the hospital for more pre-surgical exams. Lily held his hand, her little eyes shining. Clara smiled, but her phone vibrated in her pocket. It was Peter, the journalist. "Clara, the article comes out tomorrow," he said, excited. "The whole city will know what Rose did. How are you?" "Nervous," she admitted, looking at Ethan and the children. "But relieved. Thank you, Peter." "You're welcome," he replied. "This is a big story. Stay well." That night, Ethan was in the living room, talking to a lawyer on the phone. "I want to sue Rose for everything," he said, his voice hard. "She won't get away with this." Clara entered, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. "Do you think they'll catch her?" He took the mug, his eyes firm. "They will. She has nowhere to run, and I'll make sure she pays." Clara sat beside him, the silence comfortable for a moment. "I never imagined we'd be like this," she said softly. "Together again." Ethan looked at her, his face softening. "Me neither. But now that I know the truth, I won't leave you again." She nodded, the coffee warm in her hands. "For Lily and Leo." That night, as Rose tried to erase the traces at the registry office, the police surrounded the place, alerted by Peter. She narrowly escaped, but the city was already turning against her. In Ethan's house, Clara lay beside her children, her heart lighter. Justice was beginning. The hospital room was silent that morning, except for the constant beeping of the monitor. Clara sat beside the bed, her eyes red from sleepless nights. Little Lily's surgery had begun hours ago, and every minute felt like an eternity. Ethan was by her side, his eyes fixed on the door, his hands clasped in his lap. Dr. Ellis had said it was risky but necessary. Clara tried not to think the worst, but fear suffocated her chest. "She's strong," Ethan said, breaking the silence. His voice was firm, but his eyes betrayed his nervousness. Clara nodded. "I know, but I can't stop thinking. What if something goes wrong?" He reached out and took her hand. His touch was warm. "It won't. She has us here. That counts." She looked at him, tears threatening to escape. "I don't know what I would do without her, Ethan, or without Leo. They are everything to me." "I know," he replied softly. "And I'm here now. I won't leave you again." Meanwhile, Rose was racing against time. She was in a stolen car, her hair hidden under a cap, her eyes red with exhaustion. Peter's article had been published, and her face was in all the newspapers. "Woman deceives millionaire and kidnaps children," the headline read. She needed to leave the country. On the passenger seat, a bag full of jewelry and money embezzled from Hantech. The airport was the next step, but the police were close. At the hospital, Leo was in the waiting room with the neighbor, drawing on a piece of paper. He looked up at her, his little face serious. "Will Lily come back soon?" "Yes, sweetheart," the neighbor replied, ruffling his hair. The doctors are taking care of her. But at school they said Lily is sick because of me, he said, the words coming out with difficulty. The neighbor gasped, pulling him into a hug. That's not true, Leo. You and Lily are perfect. Don't listen to those things. Clara heard the end of the conversation as she returned to get water. She fell to her knees in front of him, her heart broken. Leo, look at me, she said, holding his face. You are my amazing boy. None of this is your fault. None of it. He sniffled, hugging her tight. I want Lily back, Mommy. She'll come back, Clara promised, tears streaming down her face. I swear. Hours later, Dr. Ellis emerged from the operating room, his face tired. Clara and Ethan sprang to their feet. She's stable, he said, pulling down his mask. But the next few hours are critical. She's a fighter. Clara covered her mouth, relief mixed with fear. Ethan put his arm around her, holding her tight. Thank you, Doctor, he said, his voice hoarse. That night, Rose arrived at the airport, a fake ID in her pocket. She passed through security, her heart in her throat. But as she was about to board, sirens cut through the air. Police officers ran towards her, and she tried to flee, pushing people. Get her! Someone shouted. Rose was tackled to the ground, jewels spilling from her bag as handcuffs clicked on her wrists. The next morning, Clara stood outside the hospital, facing a sea of reporters. Peter was beside her, holding a recorder. Clara, what do you have to say about Rose's arrest? A journalist asked, shoving a microphone in her face. I just want my children to be well, Clara replied, her voice firm despite her exhaustion. Rose did a lot of harm, but now she will pay. That's what matters. Peter smiled at her. You're incredibly strong. You know that? I have to be, she said, looking towards Lily's room window. Later, Ethan entered the room where Clara was with Leo. He sat beside her, the silence heavy. I saw you on TV, he said. You were incredible. I just told the truth, she replied softly. He took her hand, his eyes shining. Clara, I'm so sorry for everything you went through. I love you. I always have. She looked at him, her heart racing. Ethan, you don't need to say anything now, he said gently, but I'm here, forever. Clara squeezed his hand, tears beginning to well up. Rose was arrested, but Lily was still fighting, and in the midst of the chaos, she felt she was no longer alone. Lily's hospital room was quiet, except for the constant beeping of the monitor. Clara sat by the bedside, her eyes red from sleepless nights. The surgery had been a success, but Lily hadn't fully woken up yet. The doctors said it was normal, that she needed time, but every hour that passed was a weight on Clara's chest. Ethan was in the corner, looking out the window, his hands in his pockets. Leo was asleep on a nearby couch, wrapped in a blanket. She moved her fingers today, Clara said, her voice hoarse from holding back tears. Did you see? Ethan turned, nodding. I saw. She's coming back, Clara. Slowly. But she is. Clara stroked Lily's face, so pale and small. I keep looking at her, waiting for her to open her eyes and call me Mommy. That's all. He crossed the room and sat beside her. You've done everything for her. Now it's up to her. Days later, Lily woke up. It was late afternoon, the sun streaming through the window. Clara was refilling a glass of water when she heard a faint sound. Mommy! Lily called, her voice almost a whisper. Clara dropped the glass, water splashing on the floor, and rushed to the bed. Lily, my love, you're awake? She took her daughter's hand, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. Lily blinked slowly, her eyes confused. Did I sleep a lot? A little, Clara replied, laughing through her sobs. But you're here now. Ethan entered with Leo in his arms, stopping at the door. Look who woke up, Leo, he said. "Lily!" Leo shouted, running to the bed. "You took so long." She smiled, weakly, but genuinely. "Sorry, little brother." Clara hugged them both, her body trembling with relief. Ethan stood there, his eyes shining, saying nothing. He didn't need to. That moment was theirs. Weeks later, Lily was discharged. The hospital held a simple party in the pediatric ward, with cake and balloons. Clara helped Lily cut a slice, her hand still weak. "Do you want more, my love?" she asked, wiping a tear that wouldn't stop falling. "Yes," Lily said with a big smile. "And for Leo, too." Ethan had a surprise that day. He took Clara and the children to the plot of land where the Peterson house used to stand. Now it was just empty earth, but he stopped the car and opened the door. "I bought this," he said, his voice firm. "I want to build a house here, for the 4 of us." Clara looked at him, her heart in her throat. "Ethan, you don't have to do this." "I want to," he said, taking her hand. "I lost too much time, Clara. I won't lose any more." Leo ran across the land, laughing. "Are we going to live here?" "Yes," Ethan replied, crouching to his height. "And you get to choose your room." Lily held Clara's hand, still weak, but firm. "Mommy, are we going to be happy here?" Clara fell to her knees in front of her, crying hard. "Yes, my love, I promise." Later, the children buried a small box in the yard. Drawings, a photo of them with Clara and Ethan, a note with simple dreams. "I want a dog," Leo said, shoveling dirt on top. "I want to be well forever," Lily added, her voice soft. Clara watched, her chest aching in a way she couldn't explain. Ethan approached, putting his arm around her. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "I don't know," she admitted. "I fought so hard, Ethan, and now she's here. They're here, and I don't know how to stop being afraid." He pulled her close, his embrace tight. "You don't have to stop, but I'll be here to hold that fear with you." That late afternoon, Clara took a tree sapling that Ethan brought. She and Lily dug a hole together, their hands dirty with earth. "This tree will grow with you," Clara said, "and I'll be here to see it." Lily smiled, throwing dirt with her small hands. "You promise, Mommy?" "I promise," Clara replied, crying as she hugged her daughter. Ethan and Leo joined them, the 4 of them there, in the middle of the empty land. Clara looked at her children and at Ethan, her heart full. "We've been through so much," she said, her voice firm despite the tears. "But look at us now. We are a family. No matter what happened before, we forgive, we start over, and we become stronger together. This house will be our proof of that." Ethan nodded, his eyes shining. "We'll build everything new. For them. For us." Leo laughed, running with Lily across the land, a gentle calm warming Clara's heart. It wasn't the end of everything, but the beginning of something real. A family that fought, fell, and rose again, ready to live. What did you think of the story? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to like this video to support us and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.